89% of the counties shifted to the right.
Isn't it weird when you lose touch with that kind of legacy media, as people have often said about silos in online spaces? I actually don't know what the narrative is from them anymore. I've stopped trusting them because of not even stuff that's happened to me personally, but primarily because, say something like how Colbert would cover Bobby Kennedy when Bobby was running as an independent, and was so derisory, dismissive and cruel, I feel like, hold on, if you group him in with Trump, who previously you said your condemnation of was based on sort of misogyny, racism, etc., then I feel like I can't trust you when it comes to Trump either. And that's when my mind sort of got opened to the possibility that you can't default to liberalism as being equated with compassion, kindness, and social justice. Just because that's what we thought it meant and what it should mean, it doesn't mean that anymore. It doesn't mean that, because whether it's Trump or Bobby Kennedy or whoever it is, if you're not basically in alignment with a set of precepts and principles that serve the establishment, they'll find a way of condemning you. Why don't you open your mind real wide now and think about The View?
He's only been in office for 6 weeks. Seems like 6 years, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And he's been going around with his cronies touting his so-called landslide and blowout win. But he won the popular vote by 1.5%, one of the smallest ever, and he won the general election by less than 50%. So what kind of mandate is this really?
Well, it is a mandate, and I'm going to explain why. And I don't mind the question, but let me be very clear. I'm no supporter of Trump. I'm a supporter of truth and the facts. And here's the facts. The man won every swing state. He increased in terms of his voter turnout in his favor from the standpoint of blacks, Latinos, and young voters. He increased his numbers in that regard from 2020. 89% of the counties shifted to the right. That's a mandate. We can sit up there and play around all we want to. In 2020...
It's funny because when he says we can sit up there and play around all we want to, sit literally behind that oval desk on The View, which I suppose, the name View, we know what V means in terms of, as a letter, where do you find that letter? And what is that fricative sound, that labial sound suggestive of? The View. This is a female space, the ovum table. Well, what they do when they sit there is they claim as women to be speaking for a kind of feminine intuition, for a kind of female common sense, and for values like compassion and progressivism. But what actually they do on The View is defy reason and defy logic. And they're one of the vocal platforms that's deployed to legitimize the condemnation of the majority, however vast it is. You know, we can query. Indeed, Stephen Smith in his answer there is querying the vastness of that majority. But what he's saying is it's without question a significant mandate. It's an absolute mandate. You can't sit on The View and say Trump's a racist and RFK is a psychopath and a lunatic, although there are people in the Rumble chat right now saying he's been blackmailed by Mossad. But this is Rumble. That's what you get on Rumble. No one can do anything without being a Zionist or an anti-Semite or a Nazi, or an Illuminati member. It's complicated, and that's the kind of free speech we welcome. And hopefully, amidst these varying and vacillating streams, we'll find something reliable and truthful, which is a lot more than you're going to get on The View, where when confronted with the nature of Trump's mandate, his popularity, and the fact that he is a president, whether you agree with him or not, who is governing in this way that he said he would when he campaigned, that, in a sense, is a good thing, even if you hate him. Surely, let me know in the comments and chat if you agree with that.
In 2020, Trump didn't win the popular vote. He didn't win the electoral college vote. A matter of fact, the Republicans hadn't won the popular vote, if I remember correctly, since 2004. Yeah. But they did this year. So 20 years after they last won a popular vote, they won the popular vote. They won the electoral college vote. The man won every swing state. And on top of it all, 89% of the counties shifted against. I don't understand how people can look at that and say, there's no mandate. There's a mandate.
Well, it's a different definition of a mandate, I guess.
But the problem is that if you're the Democratic Party and you lost 49.8% to 48.3%, and you're looking at that 1.5% dip, that's an excuse for you to say, what we did really wasn't that bad. We should continue to do that. Don't continue to do that. Find a new strategy.
That's live schooling on The View. We're used to seeing them now offering retractions and legal qualifiers and disclaimers. Oh, did I say that? That's not actually true. Now what you're seeing is live education. And not only is that an excellent definition of the nature of a mandate. It's also an indication that what The View and legacy media is, in all of its varieties and hues, is propaganda for a set of establishment powers that had become invisible to us and are now visible again. Saying that is not akin to saying that Trump and Musk and other powerful figures will not have their problems and are immune to corruption or hypocrisy. It's saying that what was coming out of the liberal left has been worse than what's coming out of the right for so long, and worse. And I'd say the most unappealing aspect of it has been the condemnation and criticism of ordinary people, the loathing of ordinary Americans that's come out of elite spaces. That was the thing that turned me in the end. They don't like normal people while claiming to talk to them. And The View, like many of the assets of legacy media, is functionally and fundamentally propaganda. And if it weren't, you wouldn't have things like this happening. This is the viral video of Chuck Schumer and Elizabeth Warren literally singing from the same hymn sheet, demonstrating to us that there is a centralized message. And I suppose you want party unity, but what you don't want is propaganda. What you don't want is media so untethered from reality that it's ultimately irrelevant. What you want is a discourse that can accommodate some of the mania that comes out on the chat on Rumble, like where you'll have one person saying, like talking about Islam and Palestine, other people saying you don't talk enough about Israel. You want volatile free speech so that we can aggregate intuitively based on scripture what the right path is for the individual, for the community and the nation. But that's what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments and chat.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more uncensored content where free speech can flourish, join our live stream. Click the link right here to watch the next video if you want to, or become a member of a growing movement. Download the Rumble app and you'll be informed every time we make a new piece of content. Stay free.